We discussed earlier what a letdown, real letdown Game 7 was. Because after leading 9-4 early in the game, then all of a sudden the Miami Heat decided to make shots. The Boston Celtics did not. They were down 13 at the end of the first quarter. They scored 15 points in the first quarter. The crowd could never really be a factor. They never got the lead ever again. And there was a little bit of a run in the third quarter, but outside of that, it just became an execution because of their execution. So there'll be a lot of things said about the Heat culture and Jimmy Butler's leadership and Eric Spoelstra, but not a lot of how this actually happened. Like, how's an 8 seed? How's a team that has Max Strus? Weren't we told like last year when they lost as a 1 seed, or previously when they've lost? We've been told that that you gave a bad contract to Duncan Robinson because he can't guard anybody, blah 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 blah. And he did miss 2 open threes in Game 6, which could have made Game 7 not even happen. But how does Caleb Martin, who was incredible last night, Max Strus, Gabe Vincent, they even used Haywood Highsmith. You're like, who? What? Talk about things you Google. Who is Haywood Highsmith? Duncan Robinson. And, Kyle Lowry at times would look washed up. He hit a couple of shots early last night, hit a big 3. And they end up winning the game going away. 103-84. 103-84. There's lots of ways. You can lose a Game 7. You can lose on a tip-in. And I understand, like, Jason Tatum was hurt. That wasn't the real Celtics. Totally get it. Right? And the Heat fan can say, well, we hadn't have Tyler Hero. There's actually a reason. I think you're better without Tyler Hero because it allows you to play other guys and space the floor more. And, Jimmy Butler can create shots and Gabe Vincent can create some shots. And, you play the zone for a reason. So Bam Adebayo can kind of just defend the rim and doesn't have to move out and switch defensively or play in the drop. Losing Jason Tatum, or even though he played, he was a shell of himself, that might have even been worse. But their offense was built around him, and defensively he got exposed because he couldn't move after rolling his ankle in the first play of the game. But that's the margin for error that at any point in time in the series, if he sprains his ankle, you're going to suffer. But again, had they won any of those first 3 games, they wouldn't have had to go to Game 7, and the ankle and rolling the ankle wouldn't have been an issue. But in the real world of basketball and the real world of sports, I believe there's 3 things that elevate teams and people. And they're not everywhere. And I think the Heat have it. The first one is, and a lot of people point out, conditioning. Conditioning. Now, I'll say this, and I'll give, like, LeBron is, in any conversation, the best conditioned athlete of all time. Right? The reason he doesn't get hurt is some of it's luck, but a lot of it is dude takes care of his body, and he's always in tip-top shape. You go back to when they beat the Spurs, people remember Ray Allen hitting the shot. What they don't remember was they had to survive a close game against the Spurs. The only guy that could make a shot for the Heat in Game 7 was LeBron because the rest of them were so tired. Falling down tired. Why did the Boston Celtics not shoot the ball well in Game 6 and Game 7? They had some of the same shots of the Heat. They have some very good shooters. Why didn't they make them? I'd have to say conditioning's a factor. And by the way, one of the reasons that LeBron, couldn't win a game was in Game 4, he had 30 at the half, second half. And I know he's 38 years old. I understand. He's just exhausted. But so the Lakers looked exhausted. Conditioning, and the Miami Heat are famous, and this goes back to Pat Riley's days. This is a real NBA story. If you have real, like if Tim Hardaway is on or any of those old school, Alonzo Mourning, man, Alonzo Mourning looked exactly like Alonzo Mourning last night, didn't he? Right? There's a dude who has not aged 1 second. Alonzo Mourning he's got to be 52-ish? Is that about right? 52 years old? Like, when you saw Alonzo Mourning handing out those trophies, you're like, wait, how old is Alonzo Mourning?
53.
Yeah. 53 years old? Damn, black don't crack at all, but that dude looks incredible. Incredible. I guess, like, look, if you're a multi-millionaire and you live in Miami and you're a former professional athlete and you're already been a fitness guy and you're in good shape, but with one kidney after 20 years in the NBA, that guy looks amazing. I want to be Alonzo Mourning when I grow up. But the old stories were that the Miami Heat in their training camp, dudes would say like, hey man, don't do it unless you know it may take years off your life, because they go to a gym and they like set up where you never leave the gym. You never leave the gym. They'll set up like beds for you to take a nap, couches, relaxation rooms, everything you want. Their whole thing is like, we're going to be in better shape than anybody else. Conditioning. The next part is culture. And culture is like every business uses it a word, like let's do the culture thing. But it's a real thing there. Not only is it a culture of competitiveness and of defense, but it's also a culture where they actually don't care where you came from. And you get an opportunity if you prove that you're good enough, it doesn't actually matter. And as much as we say other people, well, we do that, we treat everybody the same. No, they don't. They just don't. Right? And the last part is confidence. And I think coaching confidence is a really hard thing. You got to really know your players. You got to know them as men. Because lots of these guys that they post like, why do they post pictures of what they're wearing or what they're driving? Like, you could say dudes have lots of insecurities. Who doesn't? I have them. I'm sure you have them as well. What, because they're great professional athletes, they don't have insecurity? They don't have moments of crisis where they have a confidence, a crisis in confidence? Everybody has it. How you handle it, that's part of their culture and part of their conditioning. Like, you're confident in your shooting because, hey, dude, you've played and shot tired in every practice. We condition harder than everybody else every year. And here's the payoff. The payoff is when they're tired, when they're dead, that's when we got another gear. We do a terrible job in the media. Terrible. Of telling you what really, really happens. We tell you the surface stuff. And I believe that listeners, viewers, you're way smarter than like our parents were. When you go back 25, go watch old games and you'll listen to the analysts and the things they would say. They weren't analyzing. All they were just doing was cheerleaders. What a great play. What a great play. Like, that doesn't really tell me anything. How did that happen? It's like I was even watching last night and they were talking about all the other players from the Heat who were hitting shots. Well, again, that's by design because you had to stop Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler gets to his... He's not a blur, but when he gets to his spot, he was making a shot. So you got to help. You help for 1 second. He just moves the ball. And you have guys that all they do is jump up and shoot. Like Duncan Robinson, as I put out on social media, like people were saying those 2 shots he took at the end of Game 6, he exists on this earth for one reason alone: shoot the basketball when he's marginally open. Max Strus, same thing. Like Max Strus is a better athlete. He's another Division II player. Mom played at DePaul, so he just went to DePaul. And he's a good, big, strong athlete, but he's not Jaylen Brown. So how do you handle that Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum when healthy? They're just more athletic than you. Go to a zone. Then Bam Adebayo knows exactly how he can position himself in the lane, even when there's the zone defense rules. But I don't think we do enough of what I'm trying to do now, which is like the Miami Heat thing. And look, were they helped out by the fact that Giannis missed 2 games in the series? Of course. Of course. You could make the case that the Sixers should have come out of the series with the Celtics. It took a 50-point effort from Jason Tatum. The Nets, if healthy, if they kept KD and Kyrie, like that's a championship caliber team. Even go back a couple years ago, Kyrie said it. They had the Bucks on the ropes. But a couple things go their favor, and they put themselves in position, and now all of a sudden they play with extreme confidence. They're in the best shape, and they have the best culture. It doesn't always mean you always win. They're probably not going to win this series. It's not a great matchup. But it's more than just, oh, hey, we made shots and they didn't make shots. You make shots for a reason. You make shots because you have the right shooters in the right position at the right time, and they're in the right shape, the right mental space to make all the right plays. Stuff doesn't happen just by accident. It's either somebody's fault or it's been coached to be at a specific place. That's the reality of sport. And I was just blown away by the Heat that if there's ever a game plan for how to win a Game 7 on the road, they executed it. Right? First quarter is incredibly important. They took the lead. They went to the zone at just the right times with just the right momentum. And the Celtics never really adjusted. They just kept doing the same thing over and over again because, well, heck, in the regular season, that stuff works. Doesn't work as much in the postseason. And they were hurt by Tatum getting hurt. And oh, yeah, by the way, then instead of trying to attack Al Horford on ball screens, they're like, let's just go at Jason Tatum every time his man gets the ball. He can't move. They swept the leg. Right? They swept the leg. And the Celtics are sitting there going like, if we don't play him, we're losing all, not just at points, but he commands respect, so he opens up the lane. But if we do play him, we got to hide him defensively. Couldn't hide him. He wouldn't let him be hidden. That's the other part to it. It's the old Spurs thing where they're like, you need to, get over yourself? Right? Your role changes not just based upon the game or the series, but the matchup. Normally, Max Strus and you name the player, they're not going at Jason Tatum. He's a pretty good defense player. Last night, whoever's got him, take him. Or let's make him guard Jimmy. Or let's make him guard Lowry. Or let's make him guard Gabe Vincent. Because he couldn't move. They swept the leg. And one last part. The record for the Scott Foster-led crew coming in was like something crazy, like 2 and I don't know what it was, 34 of the Heat when that crew officiates the game. The best thing about Game 7s in the NBA, you'll disagree with a call here or a call there, but for the most part, they're the best officiated basketball games on earth. They just call the game. I don't know why they don't do that the other 6 games in the series, but Game 7s feel like evenly officiated and feels like a complete a discussion with no merit. Zero merit.